Do it. Woo! Guys, we're live. How's everybody doing this fine, wonderful Sunday morning? Yeah, I should drop a theme song. I'm going to do that right now. We'll be right back. And like I said, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Three Geeks podcast. I do want to take a brief moment and discuss Scream 6. Nev Campbell is unfortunately not returning, but from what I hear, Nev's role was going to be short in Scream 6, and then they were looking at a bigger role in Scream 7, which is part of the negotiations going sideways. But one thing I want to pitch to the internet today, and I've been hashtagging it all over Twitter, is Jesse Camacho, friend of the show, was in Locke Key, was in Working Moms. We got to get him in this movie because he promised me an interview about everything that happened behind scenes that he can talk about, and two, he'd be perfect for it. So everybody, hashtag Camacho, the number 4, Scream 6, because let's make it happen. Please make it happen. It would really make me happy.
Was Nev Campbell a producer on any of the Scream sequels or not? Because that tends to happen when you have like a long-standing actor.
I don't think so. I guess she was promised back-end deal with Scream 3.
Okay.
And the Weinsteins never paid her.
Oh, and really? Then, you say? The Weinsteins were shady, you say?
And then Scream 5, it did really well. Like, box office-wise, I think it's the highest-grossing slasher of all time. And she can't get any of the money. Like, I think she was talking to Jamie Lee Curtis a few years ago about how, at some point women just have to decide, like, this franchise is mine and I want what I'm deserved and make the decision whether to leave or stay and fight for what's theirs. And that's what she's doing. And she's got a lot of backing from the cast of Scream. So I hope Nev gets paid because I want her in Scream 7. But like I said, until then, everybody, hashtag Camacho for Scream 6. Let's get Jesse in Scream 6. It needs to happen like as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah, I haven't followed the Scream franchise since 2. And I like the first 2 Screams for what they are. I don't have a personal investment in Scream, but I'm all for creatives getting their due and proper for stuff that they dedicate years of their lives to.
Nev Campbell is as important to Scream as Jamie Lee Curtis is to Halloween. I mean, you look at the Halloween movies without Jamie Lee, and nobody's going to argue that they're not as good as the rest. And the same thing with Scream. But we haven't seen Scream without Nev Campbell, so I can't really speak on that. But hashtag Camacho for Scream 6. Speaking of Scream 6, I think Hallea should also be in Scream 6. It could be a nice little Locke Key reunion, Jesse and Hallea.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd be so much fun. I actually have a friend in Scream, Mason Gooding, and I was thinking of heading up to, I don't know if you can hear me properly right now, but I was going to head up to Montreal this week, but just everything happened last minute. So I'm probably going to go see him when they wrap. I'm just going to put these in. Sorry.
You're fine.
But yeah, it seems crazy. I mean, can you hear me now? Wait.
We can hear you. Yeah.
You sound great.
It's all good.
Hey, okay. Jesse's from Montreal, so I think he went up because I've been
good
campaigning. So yeah, very excited for that next movie. But how are you guys? Hey.
We're doing great, Hallea. And one of the reasons I wanted to get you back on, I know we're still a couple months away from the final season of Locke Key, but you've been doing a lot more music on your Instagram. And one of the things that I'm loving about your Instagram is I see you coming out more, like as yourself. Like you seem to be embracing you more than maybe before. I'm not saying that you weren't you before, but you've redone your hair, which I think the hair is
my
great.
hair's a mess today.
You should keep it that way. And
Thank
what's
you.
gotten you doing more stuff on stage? Like, what was the motivation?
Also, brief shout out to season 3 of Locke Key on my hat right now. I've been back on, not really back on stage. I didn't really do it too much growing up, and then I got like really discouraged by it in high school and stuff like that. And then I was reintroduced to an open mic 3-4 years ago, maybe a year or a bit before the pandemic happened. So I was just kind of getting back into that. And then the big fam jam started happening, which is just like this incredible group of musicians who all get together every Tuesday night and we just jam. And we just improvise all day, like all night from like 9 o'clock until 1 a.m. And it's really special. And it's taught me a lot. I'm gonna sit down here. It's taught me a lot about like myself and like where I want to go with my music. And it allows me to experiment and also work on performing in front of crowds of people, which I'm very grateful to be able to practice before I actually start doing my own shows. So yeah.
You said before you start doing your own shows, are you planning on doing your own shows?
Eventually, yeah. Yeah, eventually. I've been kind of prepping them. Like today I have a band rehearsal. So there's so many different sounds though right now. There's like my own stuff that I have on SoundCloud, which is more self-produced. It's more kind of like put some vibey lights on and kind of go for a journey. And then I have my brother's stuff, which is more like go and party somewhere. And then I have this acoustic stuff that I'm bringing a band onto, which is very like, how did we describe it the other day? It was kind of like Fleetwood Mac meets, oh God, I can't even think of the other. Yeah, I can't remember what it was that we said, but it's kind of Fleetwood Mac-y in a way, you know? But we're still figuring it out. We're still trying to like kind of navigate what we want to do and what we want to record next and put out there. So, yeah.
Well, since you have so many different kind of avenues and genres that you're exploring a little bit, what would you say is the biggest challenge with regards to that self-producing aspect for you? Like, what is the most challenging step?
Finishing it. Yeah, finishing it is the worst thing ever, because and that's why actually all of the songs that I have on SoundCloud right now, I call them mini muses because they're miniature songs that aren't completely finished. And that was a way for me, as somebody who's like incredibly ADHD and has really bad perfectionism to the point of like never putting things out. I had to just let it go. I just had to be like, okay, this is where I'm going. This is good enough for where I am right now. And what's exciting about that too is if you just let it go and don't let the perfectionist voice in your head stop you from sharing anything at all, which it happens to all of my, like a lot of my friends. And I'm like, that's such a good song, put it out. And they're like, it's not ready. I'm like, it never will be. But just putting it out into the world is so relieving and this great release. And kind of also allows the audience, if they follow you from the beginning, kind of see how you've grown, which I'm open to because I have a lot of growth to do. I'm only back in this 4 years now and I have so much to learn.
I like that idea of, you know, you can always come back to it too. It's but for the sake of, well, I got to get it out there. Otherwise, who's going to hear it? It's like, got to put it out there at some point. And yeah, I find that very relatable. That whole, the work on this really isn't done, is it? But I got to let go of it for right now.
And it maybe never will be, you know, but it's better to put something out. I mean, obviously, like make sure that it can be heard and that it's not clipping in your ears. And, you know, there's like a basic structure that's there, but you sometimes do have to walk away and just say that's what it is right now. Like I have songs on that SoundCloud album that really need a good mix and master. Like they're just, it's very quiet, and there are even lines in some of those songs that I improvise that I don't have the original file because I did it 4 years ago, and I'm horrible at organizing my files. Where I'm like, wow, I really should go back and finesse that. But I'm like, if I release an official version on Spotify ever, or I decide to do like some kind of show for that album, then I'll go in and fine tune it, you know. But for now, it is what it is.
Yeah, like you said, sometimes it's never ready in your eyes, but putting it out there will allow others to enjoy it, because that's the best thing in life in general, is to just put stuff out there, just do stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And you never know who it's going to connect with. And a big thing I've been saying a lot and thinking a lot about is nobody knows what you don't show them. They only see what you show them. And so I actually remember when I was in grade 7 in French class, my French teacher, we were doing like some kind of presentation, and me being a huge procrastinator, just like procrastinated to the last minute. And I had all these ideas what I wanted to do for the presentation, but then I just didn't end up doing them because I was just a bad student. But I got up to do my presentation, and I was like, well, I really wanted to do this, but I didn't have time to do this. And he's like, don't tell us what you could have done. Show us what you did. And that has stuck with me, Mr. Zucala. That has stuck with me my whole life ever since, because it's like nobody knows what we could have done. They only know what we do. And sometimes what we've done is really, really good. So
I feel like that's also something, maybe, I don't know if this is true or not for you, but that you apply for the acting side of things too, is to kind of say like, there's a mystique around characters you create or characters that you're involved with. And it's like, I know sometimes people ask how much of you is in a character, and maybe you want to kind of keep that up to interpretation of like, I don't know, how much of me is in this character? What do you think?
I feel like it's really bad that I say a lot, because anyone who's watched the second season of Locke and Key will worry about me. But no, I don't have murderous tendencies. Don't worry. Yeah, a lot is in my characters of me. I think the huge aspect of acting is finding yourself in the character, because a big part of acting is finding the empathy for the character. Like, even if they're a horrible character and they do horrible things, like, how can you love them? Because a lot of the times they think they're just doing what's right, and they don't see it as wrong. And just trying to find that love for your character. And like, it's just like in everyday life, we don't always have the best relationship with ourselves. We don't always love ourselves all the time. It's really difficult to have that self-love at all times. And same with characters. So it's like finding myself within this character of like, oh, this character is deeply unhappy with themselves because of X, Y, Z. And it's like, where in my life maybe can I bring that in as like an example of, something I can relate to with that character. But I think a lot is, especially with Eden. Eden was my I would just go on set and turn her on, and she was just there, But that was a fluke.
You gonna miss Locke and Key?
Oh my gosh, I already do. We already filmed season 3. So it's been really, it's been about a year since we've finished filming. I miss it all the time. I still see some of the crew members, and I mean, I see Jesse, as you guys were talking about Jesse earlier. I see a few of the cast members and stuff, but it's been a while, and I miss it a lot.
I was just curious, when it comes to closing out on a show and so forth, what are those last couple of weeks like with regards to set? Is there a senioritis type of feel going around, or is it very quiet and solemn, or?
It's funny because it was, I worked solidly on it for 8 months, and that was like my first job where I was ever like going consistently throughout the week. It was rare to have like a week where I had no work, which was just such a freaking honor. I miss it all the time because like my favorite part of going, and besides the work itself, was just like seeing all the familiar faces for 8 months and working with such an incredible crew. And like we got really lucky. We had a really, really great charismatic crew who worked together and was so friendly and just knew everybody's name and that kind of stuff. So it was kind of like a family. And leading up to the last days of filming were hard because I had made all these little interpersonal like relationships with people. But we still kept the fun up. We were always like trying to have as much fun as possible. Like nearing the last few days, we started kind of like playing music and like in the green room, like on loud and just making everyone dance. And, you know, because you can start maybe goofing off a little bit. The last day, though, I couldn't look at most of the people who I had made these close friendships with. I was like, because we would just look at each other like, oh, this is the last day. And I'd be like, don't even look at me. I'm going to cry. I have my close up soon. And it was just so beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. And everyone came in from the clap out for the wrap. And I just looked around a room of all these incredible creatives who I had made good friends with, and I felt very, very grateful to work with, and I miss them every day.
Yeah, from interviewing you and Jesse, you guys filmed Locke Key quite a while ago, season 3, and the announcement came way after. So did you guys know it was the final season when you guys were filming season 3?
Yeah, we actually got told pretty early on while filming season 2. We were informed about it being 3 seasons probably before we wrapped for Christmas, which would have been around like midway point, I think like episode 4 or 5 of filming. And it was sad, but at the same time, I feel like it's such a great series, and like the kids age out at 18. And we were all like on the edge of 18. Like I was trying to figure out how old Eden was because like when's her birthday? And I was thinking because I signed on as a 17-year-old, but then I'm all the things that happen in the second season would have been the year after that. So I would have aged out, but maybe the demon bullet helped me stay in tune with magic. I don't know. So I was like trying to figure all that stuff out. And so it makes sense that they kind of like they called it quits after 3 seasons, because it's just like sometimes you can't have a show go on longer than it needs to. I think they made a really good choice.
Carlton Cuse, which is one of the guys behind your guys' show, he did Lost, and ever since then, because when he was doing Lost, the networks kept trying to get them to prolong the show, and ever since then, he seems to know exactly when his shows are going to start and finish, and he seems to really stick to that.
And I think that was kind of like the little bit of the joke of just like, you know, Carlton knows. Like Carlton has been there before. Like he's been on productions that have probably gone on a little bit too long, and like he's so seasoned in this industry that he knows when to make the good choices. And I know that it wasn't just him; it was Meredith Averill and Joe Hill and IDW and Netflix and all that stuff, and everyone together making those decisions. But it just made sense for the way that the story was going. And I mean, there's so much more that they can do in that, like that universe, because you have the 1775 stuff, and you have the what's in the Keeper of the Keys, and then you also have the future, like what's going to happen after the locks, whatever happens in season 3, you know, no spoilers. So there's so much more that can be done in this universe. And like anytime I tell people, they're like, oh, what's the show about? They're like, oh, that's a really cool concept. Like if you could just like step into your brain, like that's awesome. Or like go anywhere in the world. The possibilities are endless. Could these keys be used in Rome? I don't know. Let's go see. So yeah, it's sad that it's ending after 3 seasons, but I honestly think that it could have gone negatively if they prolonged it further than they felt like it was necessary to.
Yeah, I got one pressing question that I'm sure everybody wants to know is you don't clean rocks anymore.
I don't clean rocks anymore. You know, I was thinking about that this morning. I went up to my parents' place the other day, and like there had like grass grew through these rocks that I placed like Tetris and cleaned for so long, and it was definitely a little bit of a manic episode. I won't lie. I hyperfixate on things, and it was just like 6 weeks of really tedious but meditative structure. And that was right after I had gotten off of filming like my majority of my stuff. And it was definitely a little bit crazy. I was thinking about it this morning. Like if I posted anything regarding the rocks again, majority of my followers would not know what the heck I'm talking about. They'd be like, what are you talking about, rocks? And I'm like, the OG squad is out there and knows that I was cleaning rocks with my hands for weeks. It's a little bit weird. Whatever.
I think,
but no, I'm not doing it anymore.
We all have our kind of like coping rituals, as it were, and especially like you said, if you're like winding down from this big chunk of activity that you dedicated so much of your time to, it's like, okay, this can be a little bit more at ease.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had nothing else to do. Like, I didn't have much to do. I was winding down. I was listening to podcasts. I was, like, calling friends. I was in silence a lot of the time, too, which is maybe a little bit wild, but, like, it was meditative. It was, like, this motion that me as someone who has incredibly debilitating ADHD felt so, like, in tune with. I don't know. It was nice.
I get it. It could be relaxing to do stuff like that. Trust me, I understand. But this is your 5th time on our show, so I want to thank you for that. And I hope that we get to keep you coming on, even though Locke Keys in the past, because since you were on the first time, we've been fans of your music. So I'm looking forward to seeing that chapter of your career going forward.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm excited to share some stuff and get it out there. I have 3 concept albums on the roster right now, so I have a lot of stuff that I'm working on putting out. So another song coming out June 27th. I really hope that I don't regret saying that, because it keeps on getting pushed back because of timeline scheduling issues. So don't hold me to that, but we're aiming for June 27th, a music video as well. And then we have another one coming out in July. So
yeah, was it
summer? In summer, expect good things.
Yes, sometime in summer, yes. There will be new music and music videos on the way.
I gotta ask, I'm sure this is a dumb question, but was it crazy making a music video in a swimsuit in the freezing cold?
I love the fact that you saw that music video, because I didn't really push it much. I just kind of put that one and the other one out there. Yeah, it was. So funny enough, that blue dress is from Locke Key. And
oh, nice.
It was gifted to me, and it was during like Eden's head stuff. Oh, spoilers. If anyone hasn't watched it yet, they're behind. But yeah, it was one of the dresses I wore for the video stuff that was in the back of episode 5 of season 2. It was freaking freezing. It was minus 20, which in our term, that's cold. It's like freezing. And then it felt like minus 30. So that was horrible. I had luckily like some skin colored leggings on, but I couldn't do anything with my arms. So I did it to myself, because that was my creative vision. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be in a beautiful blue dress and long flowing blonde wig in the middle of a frozen lake in January. And that's what happened. That's what did. You know, be careful of what you dream for, because you might get it.
You did it. Like we were talking earlier, you went out there and you followed through with your vision. And you should promote that song, because it's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I need to do better at that. I don't have the publicity team doing anything right now. So,
yeah. How's the weather up there now?
It's so much better. It's a little bit sunny, a little bit cloudy today, but it's 18 degrees, which is so much better. which is actually the name of the song that we're releasing. So much better. Anyway, yeah, it's 18 degrees and much better, and it was up at like 20, 25 the other day, and it was just blistering hot, 20, 30. Ugh. Can't get the healthy medium. I like the healthy. I like jackets. I like layering. Either or is too much for me.
I was just curious. I'm going to be up north next weekend, so that's why I was wondering. Just
Okay.
for myself.
It should be good. I don't think it will be that bad. Yeah, it's
awesome.
Getting better.
Well, before we decided to have Hallea join us, Mike and I were talking, or Mike brought it to our suggestion that we should do top 5 characters from movies and television, LGBTQ representation, and I thought it was a great idea. And you guys are going to learn that most of my list is from the last year and a half, and because I've been watching so much, and it seems to be like there wasn't much beforehand as far as, in my opinion, fair. And I find the coming out stories fascinating because as a straight human being, I never came out as straight. Like people just assume. Like I don't understand that having to come out thing doesn't make sense to me. But I'm going to kick off with my list. My number 5 is Lexi from Saved by the Bell, played by Josie Tota. She is an amazing actress, like 100% amazing. And I hope we see more of her in the future. I was really upset that Saved by the Bell was canceled because it was getting awards too, the new iteration, and she was definitely the standout.
So why was it canceled? That's what I don't understand about these things getting canceled. Like if it's doing well, like okay.
It was doing well award-wise. I don't think it was doing well audience-wise because people didn't know how to take the new tone because like it was serious, but it was still goofy like the original show. So there was some stuff, and how people are nowadays. It's just if you change too much or you make something too woke, people walk away, and I don't understand that mentality.
Yeah,
and also that was a Peacock exclusive, right?
Yeah, but Peacock, they seem to stand behind their programming. So I don't know because like it had just come off of winning a lot of stuff.
And I don't know, Hallea, if you're as familiar with this aspect of the industry or business when it comes to streaming platforms or not, but is there kind of this whole idea of like they're just constantly churning out content that they're like, okay, let's push some of this to the side or push some of the longer running series to the side in favor of this new surge of content that we feel will track better with their audiences, or I don't know.
There's this whole concept of it being new media when it's not new media. New media has been around for long enough for it to figure itself out. But I'm not sure how that whole thing goes, but it's interesting to me how sometimes like I'll even be following the socials of like Netflix or whatever. And I don't know if it's because I'm in the show that I just feel like we get pushed to the side a lot, even though it was a really popular show. But it's like, it seems like because there's so much content going on, it's just hard for them to kind of give an equal playing field to everything. So they kind of pick and choose their favorites, which understandably, but with Locke and Key, like I feel like it was such like it was a pretty niche area. Like it was kind of like it wasn't the whole like for Heartstopper, for example. That's one of my LGBTQ favorites. But they like pushed that so hard because it was so many different people in range, and especially like a lot of social media people were like very like making all the fan accounts and stuff. And so I think they saw a great outpouring of people online, so they really pushed it. But like Locke and Key didn't have a huge online personality, so they don't push it as much as online, which ends up being less promotion for it, even though it was like a hugely successful show in its own right. Like it's so weird, but I don't really know the ins and outs of the industry yet. I will learn them as I go along, but it's a very strange world out there that just feels like it's like, why? Like, why are you canceling the show? So many people, like Julie and the Phantoms, that fan base wants Julie and the Phantoms back so badly. Just give it to them. Just give it to them. I've never watched it in my life, but those fans, they will never let the comment section rest until they get Julie and the Phantoms back. And also Anne with an E. Yeah. Anne with an E. Those two are like, hello. We're not leaving. We're not backing down.
I haven't seen any of Julie and the Phantoms, but at my job, we share a lot of music, and a lot of the music from Julie and the Phantoms makes its way to my ears, and I'm just like, this is pretty friggin' awesome. Like, I really dig this music.
Yeah, like why did they cancel it then? I don't know. I think if I worked at Netflix and like I saw how many people were pouring comments into every single post being like, revive Julie and the Phantoms, revive Anne with an E, like those two over everything constantly. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know why they do it. Who's your next one, Jason?
Mike, what's your number 5?
Oh yeah, we go in like turns here.
Oh, okay.
So. Well, yeah, as Jason was mentioning earlier, like a lot of these might be more recent or relatively recent, I guess, in comparison. I'm very old, but also in terms of like representation too, because I know quite a few of these characters. Some of them on my list are played by actual queer actors and actresses, and others are played by straight actors. And I felt more, if the performance and characterization is very empathetic and very reaffirming, then I feel it's worth mentioning. And this is a character who I don't know if the official character has been, come out as queer or what have you, but the actress certainly has. Cassandra Peterson as Elvira. This is like the third list in a row that I've mentioned Elvira on it because I love Elvira. And so I know last year Cassandra came out and revealed that actually, yeah, she'd been in a 19-year relationship with a woman. But to me, Elvira has always been bi, at least, which I now relate to a lot more because I'm bi. So there's just this aspect of that character that I've always really enjoyed where whoever you are, she's always so amicable and always so in the most high spirits, even though, the character herself is dressed in the macabre, and everyone, especially in the movies that she does, everyone looks at her like, who is this weirdo, so to speak? But she does not care, and she owns it. And I love her vivacity and how much she takes ownership of her life. And so Elvira absolutely is one of my favorite queer characters. She's in my mind, at least. Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up. I've never seen. That's a good answer. Okay.
I know who she is, but I've never seen any of her stuff either. I need to because, like Mike said, he's mentioned it on like the last 3 or 4 lists, and I need to investigate.
Always.
She's also hilarious too. So and she's been around for such a long time. That she's a staple in like horror fantasy stuff at this point. So she's like the Grand Marshal now of horror pride, so to speak.
That's so interesting how she's been in a relationship with a woman for 19 years and it's not like bigger information. I mean, that's great for the privacy purposes.
Sure. But the reason why is because she last year had an autobiography. She put out an autobiography or memoir, and that's where it was revealed.
Cool.
And it's like, yeah. And we were all like, a lot of us were like, we kind of already knew.
We kind of figured that. Yeah. Amazing.
What's your 5, Hallea?
Like my last in line or my first? What do you mean?
5. Number 1 would be your best, but you can do it however you want.
Yeah, we do it in whatever order. Sometimes we just list them out.
I just watched Russian Doll, and it blew my mind. But I really liked Lizzie and Maxine characters. So Lizzie is played by Rebecca Henderson, and Maxine is by Greta Lee. And it definitely the Lizzie character was more out there, and I love the show in general. Like, I'm not a big TV watcher, but like getting into Russian Doll just like took me on this journey, and I just loved how it was never mentioned, it was never cared, like whatever. It just was so natural and so a part of the show that it just whatever. Like, you didn't have to come out. Like what you were saying, Jason, of just like this concept that straight people don't have to come out. Why do gay people have to come out? And obviously that's a whole conversation for another day.
That was one of the things I liked about Lexi on Saved by the Bell, because Josie Tota is trans in real life, and her character was trans on the show, and it was only mentioned once, very briefly. But other than that, she was treated like a normal person, which she should be.
Yeah. That reminds me to put down Hunter Schafer.
Spoiler alert.
Incredible.
Yeah, we're just now trading off shows and
Yeah.
Well, my number 4 is Tony Padilla from 13 Reasons Why. You could tell my daughter influenced my list a little bit because I watch a lot of these shows with her. He was played by Christian Navarro, and he was my favorite character on that show. He had the most range and the most heart, and I think it's fantastic performance, fantastic character, fantastic show, really.
Nice. I've been told a lot of differing opinions on 13 Reasons Why, but one thing that some people mentioned has been that particular character, Tony Padilla. So
the first season is just amazing. Part of me wishes they had, because originally they had shown like the suicide and like the the impact and what it was, and they ended up removing it. I kind of wish that was still there because I feel like that was more impact on the show. But yeah, fantastic show and fantastic character.
I felt like it was unnecessary to show it all. Like I was very shocked when they showed it all, because here's the thing, like if you look at the Incredible Hitchcock, he never shows anyone dying, but you always know that it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, especially when it comes to something that was so graphic like that, not to erase what happens, of course, and like how it happens, and that like if you do this you will die, like that kind of thing. I just felt like it was a bit much.
That's fair, because the only version I saw was the edited down version, so
I saw the actual version.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any comparison, but that's fascinating.
That's been the main kind of talking point that a lot of people have been saying to me, is that there's a point where it's like they don't want to take away from the gravity of the actual initial situation, but at the same time, do you want to get into explicit or possibly exploitative territory with regards to the details? Yeah.
And that's a show that really does a good job of showing all the layers behind what makes somebody commit a decision like that. Like what gets you there? It's not one person; it's all these many little things that just keep building and building.
Yeah, I only watched the first season of it. After that scene, I was like, I need to take care of my own mental health. You know, I'm good. I think I'm good. Yeah. Who's your next character, Mike?
For me, now also a lot of these selections are going to end up being duos because a lot of these characters, they just work so well together. For me, this is through television, comics, and most recently the animated series, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, especially from the HBO Harley Quinn show, where they've really fleshed out their relationship a lot. And I love that was a main kind of arc for season 2 in Harley Quinn, was Harley coming to terms with her feelings for Ivy, and Ivy coming to terms with her feelings for her, and this back and forth of will they or won't they, that actually felt really genuine, because they had a whole season before of their friendship that was just the most adorable friendship ever, even though they're these crazy Batman villains. But yeah, and also in the comics, they've really gotten into their relationship dynamic a lot more, that it's, even like I said, you mentioned earlier, Jason, even if it's a character that's supposed to be a villain, or like you mentioned, Hallea, even if it's a character who's supposed to be a villain, how can you relate to and sympathize with them? And it's like you do very much through their relationship. Like, they're villains, but they're villains in love. So I kind of love that.
I'm looking up all of this while we're talking about it. If you wonder where my brain's going, I'm like looking up. I was actually looking up who played Poison Ivy in the past, because it was like, that'd be fun.
I think in the animated series, it's Kaylee Cuoco, who played her in Big Bang Theory. She was the main girl in Big Bang Theory, and then Lake Bell plays Poison Ivy in the animated show.
Cool. My next one is Dairy Girls. Have you guys watched Dairy Girls?
I have not.
Highly recommend. It's freaking hilarious. Nicola Coughlin plays Claire, who she's also in Bridgerton. So she's the next year main lead for Bridgerton, which is really, really exciting. And she's just like a bundle of sunshine. I love her. But it's interesting because in Dairy Girls, she's like in this community where they aren't out there about it. Like they're in small town Ireland, I believe. And it's just not a thing, right? And then it goes through this whole process where she just like goes like, I'm a lesbian. And they're like, ah, like that kind of thing. And it's like her going through this alongside all of the craziness that's happening with her friends and stuff. I just love how I just love her in general. I mean, Nicola's an incredible actor. So that was the one that came to mind. I was like, oh yeah, I haven't watched that in forever.
And there's I didn't realize. I was looking it up as well here. There's like 3, soon to be 4 seasons of it. Man.
Really?
Yeah, there's supposed to be like a 4th season coming out. It's the British sitcom, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I just pulled it up too. I'm like, I should watch this with my daughter. She would love this.
Dairy Girls. It's so freaking fun. I can't believe they're having another season. Are they?
That's what it said here. Let me double check just to make sure I'm not giving false hope to you here.
There will be no dairy. It says there will be no. Okay, well, they should continue on with it. Northern Ireland in the 1990s.
Yeah, false hope, Mike.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I got excited for Leah being like, oh, maybe there'll be more of it, and it's just like,
No, that's sad because that's such a good show.
Well,
they're so funny.
Let's get another hashtag going. Hashtag more dairy.
More Dairy Girls, please. I'll be up there with the Julie and the Phantoms and with the Evie, like, bring back Dairy Girls.
Now you gotta turn around. Now you're in the comments being
like, bring back Dairy Girls, please.
Yeah, make sure the hashtag includes Dairy Girls, not dairy, because I don't want any more it. I like what we got, and I don't want that to continue. Yeah. Dairy Girls could go on forever. I just realized my entire list is television. My number 3, and then after number 3, we're getting a few older shows, but my number 3 is Jake and Devin from season 1 of Chucky, played by Zachary Arthur and Bajoran Arneson. And if you guys haven't seen Chucky out there, the show, 1, had no business being as good as it was. And number 2, it tells one of the best coming out stories I've ever seen on television and film. The 2 lead actors are fantastic. And it's a simple story about, coming out, being in this position as a young kid and what you go through. And I just done very well. Like, I do have a family member who's dating one of the cast members. So that aside, I just want to put it all out there. Like, I was so glad the day that I watched this show and I didn't have to lie to her and say, oh, yeah, it's good. No, it is fantastic. The young actors on this show are just amazing. Have you seen any of it, Hallea?
No, I'm Chucky, like the doll that kills people.
Yeah, it's the series based on that. Yeah.
Sorry, not for me, bud. Not for me. No.
The amount of heart, though, is so good, and Chucky has a queer son in the series as well, and that comes up in the.
I love that. Franchise. I've been seeing things about that of just being like, if Chucky can get behind the gays, so can you. Yeah.
There's even a line in the show where Chucky tells one of the kids, like, "I'm not a monster. My son is queer. I support him." Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, the things
Call him out. Call him out. Yeah.
Sorry, I was miming earlier, like, Jason's check is being written as we speak. There you go.
From Chucky, yeah.
Thank you for the Chucky name drop there. You've been championing for a long while now.
I've been championing it, yeah. But I got to put that out there because anybody that knows me knows that I have that piece of my family. So I want them to know that I liked it above that and that just because of that situation. But
Unbiased opinion, certainly,
yeah.
to some degree.
What's your 3, Mike?
My 3, this is going back a ways to a movie now. This is Armand and Albert Goldman from The Birdcage. This is another movie that I will not shut up about. It's one of my favorites of all time. Like, I watched this with my folks when I was really young, and I should have known something about myself then, because something just clicked for me, not just with the comedy, but with the characters especially, because it's certainly campy, and Albert is played by Nathan Lane, so he goes very big and flamboyant, but there's a lot of heart and a lot of character to this couple that even when I was younger, as I was watching it, like it really resonated with me how much this couple loves each other and how they're willing to put themselves through this farce of a presentation for their son, who is trying to get the approval of his fiance's parents, who are very conservative Republican people from Ohio.
Robin Williams.
Yes, Robin Williams. I mean, I didn't even mention yet the X factor that is Robin Williams in this. Like, and he's the one who's actually kind of more reserved in this movie. Like, Nathan Lane is the one who's going big and very exaggerated with his gestures and his behavior. Robin Williams is, for lack of a better term, the straight man to Nathan Lane in this movie. But they're still, you believe them as a really loving couple that just can sometimes really push each other's buttons.
Okay, I gotta read the breakdown. A gay cabaret owner and his drag queen companion agree to put up a false straight front so that their son can introduce them to his fiance's right-wing moralistic parents.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, I'm watching that tonight.
Yeah, it's a journey. It really is. And like I said, this is coming from the mid '90s, which I felt was trying to get a lot of representation out there, but didn't have a really solid way of going about it. But I feel like this is one of the movies that was able to say, like, yeah, certainly we can have flamboyancy and over the topness, you know, with this culture of drag shows and so forth, but also these are human beings. These are flesh and blood characters that you want to root for and invest in. And absolutely, like, there's a scene in the movie, and I'm getting a little teared up just talking about it, but like where they just have a sit down conversation by the ocean, and it is like one of the most beautiful and also emotionally devastating things I've seen in movies. So absolutely, check it out. Enjoy The Birdcage, Hallea. It's a trip.
I'm excited. I'm really excited to see this. I'm looking up at the cast. And then I ended up at Joan Cusack's IMDb because Anne Cusack is in The Birdcage, I believe. Yeah, Anne Cusack. And she's been in 59 movies and 19 TV shows. She wasn't in The Birdcage. This is totally irrelevant to everything we're talking about. But I just ended on, I'm like, wow, that woman has worked.
You just summed up IMDb in one sentence. Like, I was here, and then I ended up here. I don't know how I got here.
It's such a rabbit hole. There's no, like, once you start on one tangent, you'll find yourself like 20 tangents later somewhere else. It's
all the time.
Speaking of Robin Williams, almost on my list was the hairdresser and the guy who fixed him up in Mrs. Doubtfire, who was also in Independence Day playing a similar character.
Firestein.
I love that guy.
He's got the voice like this.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He was almost on my list. But Hallea, what was yours?
Love Victor, Lucy and Blake's bi drama. So they never ended up together in the last of I believe it was the second season that I think they're filming the third season. Mason is also in that. Mason Gooding, he plays I forget his character's name. Mason, forgive me. They introduced Lucy as being, I have to know my love Victor cast. What character do you play?
Well, Andrew.
She's introduced as like his girlfriend, and then Lake and Lucy start having like this like fling, and I really love that kind of like throughout the season you kind of get the vibe, but you kind of don't. And like that's just my whole entire existence at all times. I'm like, am I catching a vibe? I don't know. And then it's just like you end up going, yeah. I really love them. I think Ava Capri is great, and BB Wood is great. And I just would love to be on a show like that. I think that's such a cool show.
Now, that was also, it was a show, but based off a movie, right?
Love Simon.
Yeah, Love Simon. Yeah.
Love Simon.
Yeah.
Okay, that's. I was like, wait a minute. I think I know one of these. So
I remember.
Actually,
I remember hearing about this for the first time, and I was really surprised, and I'm glad that Disney was like so attached to this. Like they were out doing it and promoting it, and because Disney usually slyly shows representation, it doesn't usually lean into it. And with this, they leaned into it, and I was like, okay, maybe things are starting to change over there too. But this is something I want to watch. Like this is another show that I think my daughter could really get into.
There's a cliffhanger at the end of season 2 that I'm like, tell me whose door is it? Actually, going back to something you said earlier about straight actors playing gay characters, Michael Cimino, who plays Victor Salazar, I don't believe is out or identifies as anything other than straight at this point. But I have talked to many actors who have played that character, like those kinds of characters, and it's just like, well, A, you're hired, and B, I think it's a shift that's happening within the industry that it's just like, okay, like I would be very surprised and also disheartened and largely like, wow, why would you do that if they continue to do that on a large scale, especially when it comes to trans actors. Like we went through a lot of years where it's like, I mean, Cillian Murphy killed it, but I don't think playing a trans character if you're a cis body person is not really like a thing that I kind of get behind, because there are so many incredible actors who are trans who can very well just play anybody.
But especially if the narrative itself and the character arc itself is tied to that specific identity, I feel it's very important to have someone who is trans to be able to absolutely sell you on that that story arc. Yeah, I've never been a fan of that in particular. Like you mentioned before, it's sometimes with like hetero actors portraying more queer or bisexual or what have you. Like certainly there's this nebulous area, but when it comes to the trans experience, absolutely, I feel there are many details and idiosyncrasies that only a trans actor could bring to that role. So
for sure, and you're only going to get a better performance anyway. It's one thing to be like a kind of actor that's like, I want to be in the character and do something that's so far beyond myself. And like, sure, we could say that for the actors who have come before to do that, but we have such a diverse group of actors who are capable of telling their own stories. And I think we need to allow them their space and give them that space to tell their own stories. I mean, as a bi human myself, like I would love to tell the story of bi world and relationships, and like, how I'm constantly sometimes made to feel invalid because of only having officially long-term dated men. And it's just like, no, that doesn't change anything. Like I'm still who I am. And it's the same with trans actors, letting them have their space and giving them their space to be like, this is who I am. I know my experience better than anyone who could try to emulate this experience. And I think that's the safer way of going about it too, because then we have people to look up to, and little trans kid who hasn't come out yet can look up to somebody and be like, I want to be like them one day, and not be like, oh, wait, no, my reality of what I think is a trans person, because I haven't seen them anywhere else except for on my TV, is fake because it's played by a straight cis person, So that's a whole realm that I'm like, yes, like any work that I get into, like I'm heading in the direction of producing and writing and getting into the behind the scenes aspect of TV and film. And a huge part of everything I'm writing is like, okay, I want to represent the people I know in my community. And the people in my community are just from everywhere and every aspect of the human experience. And I'm like, yeah, let's write for the people who are going to live authentically on screen, because that's going to be the most beautiful thing to watch. And that's going to be the most connective way of telling a story, is to have somebody who's, experienced something like that, tell it authentically through their own words and their own expression and their own experience.
Tangent. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no, relevant though. Relevant tangent. Yeah. Absolutely.
I agree. Yeah. I want to do a quick shout out because you mentioned, trans actors, and they're killing it on TV right now. Laverne Cox was recently in Investing Anna. Jesse James Keitel was on Big Sky, and Hunter Schafer on Euphoria, all doing a great job. And the one thing that I think really, like you said, getting these people represented on TV, played by themselves, it also creates exposure to people that have been raised to be afraid, or, various reasons why, but it allows more understanding, because you see these people on stage, you're like, oh, they're just normal people, which they are normal people. It's crazy.
Well, I think that speaks overall to not just this, but culture in general is, and you've heard me harp about this ad nauseum, Jason, many times. Hallea, I apologize in advance. Is that I hate it when, audiences and fandoms like start to pigeonhole themselves into just one specific thing. Because again, that precludes anything else. And I'm certain you can't be in the know about every single show, every single piece of art, every single piece of literature out there. That's just, a physical impossibility.
Yeah.
To purposefully cordon yourself off from anything else just because it's not what suits your palate at that moment, I feel it's not beneficial for the self, especially. I'm always just trying to find something new, even if it's it's in a completely different language. I'm really getting into Tollywood and Bollywood movies right now. Just I watched a really great Tollywood film a couple of weeks ago that blew my mind, and I'm just like, I need to watch more cinema like this, and getting into more stories, having to deal, like you said, Hallea, with experiences that maybe now I can relate to, which is, stories about being bi and what that means. And as someone mentioned in the comments here, the frustration that comes with having to justify our intimate connections with people, even though they're like, well, doesn't that just mean you like this particular person? It's like, no, it's, having to combat the erasure of our identity in that regard.
Well, so many people.
Go ahead.
So many people become so closed off to it because they don't allow themselves expansion of their understanding of the world and themselves. And so when it comes to even considering a Black James Bond, people are like, oh my God, no, we can't have that. Why? Give me 5 good reasons. Give me 2 good reasons why. Actually, give me 1. If you have 1, you don't have 1, because there is no 1 good reason. There's no 5 good reasons. It's an actor who has different melanin levels in their skin. If they're good at what they do, if they start hiring people just based off how they look and not how talented they are, that's one thing. But how many white actors who suck are getting way too much screen time? That's where it is. Sorry, that really, yeah.
That's absolutely on point. And especially with a stable of James Bond, at this point in the cultural mindset, there doesn't need to be anything to say exclusively white guy at this point. It's British intelligence agent. That's it.
And at this point, it's been played by so many freaking people, and it's we can do anything we want in these universes because they're not real. Sorry to break it to you, but it's not real, and it can be literally anybody. And it's people go to these Marvel movies, and there's massive 30-foot tall huge dudes and flying things and like all of these crazy worlds. Sorry, I'm not in the MCU universe. Please don't disown me.
Yeah, but you guys could hashtag that Hallea for the MCU. Let's give her some of that Disney money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would love that. But like, you know, you go to that and you believe that. Why is it so hard to believe that there could be a Black James Bond? Or even greater idea, why isn't it a Black female who's gay? Yes. Keep the Bond girls, because we all love the Bond girls, right? I want to be a Bond girl. I had an outfit on the other day. I got into an Uber and the guy spoke no English, but he said, Bond girl. Bond girl. And I was like, yes, let's manifest it. But like, why not? You know, you can do anything with these. It's just the pushback of people being homophobic and not open to recognizing that the world is much more expansive and colorful and beautiful than their little shoebox of an understanding of life that they've created and have had created for them through generations and tradition.
Yep.
How are we doing on time, Hallea? You doing well?
I got nothing going on today.
Just wanted to make sure because we've had you for an hour or such. I got good news for you, Hallea.
The rock cleaning.
Great news. Love Victor season 3 is next week.
There we go.
Yay! Okay, cool. Wow.
3 days, actually. Not like it's almost here.
Yeah, we're almost in next week. Yeah.
I am excited. I am so excited. Wait. I'm going to send a little picture of this to Mason because I'm going to be like, look, I'm such a fangirl of you, Mason, that we're even talking about it. I love Victor season 3 coming out in 3 days on a podcast.
You should be talking about me. Let's put
I love it.
The bad news is it's its final season. Streaming loves to do 3 seasons and done. I've noticed that.
Seems to be like the go-to number for like, okay, good.
Well, if you think about it, it's like a 3-act story arc.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's how it plays out, certainly, yeah.
I think 3 to 5 seasons is great because you can also have the 5-act story arc, which is just like splitting down the second act into 2 parts. But anyway, all that stuff. Going into the whole writing world has been really interesting and like breaking down concepts into 3 to 5 act structures. Anyway, I think they like it because it's just like you get really into it and then, you know, you move on to the next thing. It sucks though, because it's a good show. But I would love to, you know what I want them to do? Because they're doing this whole love Victor, love Simon thing. Why don't they do like love Lucy, love Lake? You know, like why don't they have a
spin-offs?
One, yeah. A femme lesbian sapphic one? Why not? Do you know what's really annoying as someone who is bi and wants to work more? I mean, a big reason I cut my hair, I won't even lie, it's a mess right now. That's why I'm wearing my hat. Is because I wanted to get away from like the very heteronormative look that Eden had. And I never considered Eden to be completely like straight though. I'll be honest, that was like my little secret. But like there are not a lot of shows that focus around lesbian stories. Like much at all, which is really annoying. So I'm saying to whoever is in the seat of making decisions over Love Victor and Love Simon, please let me know. I'd love to fall in love with a woman on screen. Any day, anytime. Let's go. Come on. You're not going to do it.
So
you can find her on social media at Hallea Jones. Just message her and she...
Yeah. And I'm just making music right now, so I'm not working. I've been off for a bit. I'm happy to go. Let's go.
Package deal. Be like, hey, character could be a singer-songwriter.
I love it.
Hashtag love Hallea. There we go.
There's so much. She could also be in landscaping because apparently that's something I love doing as well, which is pretty gay, I'll be honest. Like, it works. It works.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do I have one more in my roster of like things to share?
We left off at
number 2. My number 2 is Cosima from Orphan Black, played by Tatiana Maslany. I love Tatiana Maslany, and she could read the phone book to me, and I would just be so happy. Like if she sent me an audio recording of the phone book, I downloaded her version of Hunger Games, even though I had already read it, but I wanted to hear her perform it, and I was not disappointed. But yeah, Cosima, fantastic character on Orphan Black, fantastic show, fantastic actress. Mike, you're number two.
Again, another couple. This is from the Black Mirror episode San Junipero. Kelly and Yorkie, played by Gugu Mbatha-Raw and Mackenzie Davis. This Black Mirror can be a very hollowing experience because it's always about the doom and gloom about technology and social media and where it could be leading us to a more grim future and so forth. But this was like the one episode in the series that actually felt really good, like positive, reaffirming, very beautiful love story about these people who find themselves and each other in the afterlife, quote unquote. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's a really well done story, and Mackenzie Davis and Gugu Mbatha-Raw are absolutely wonderful together. Their dynamic is really touching and beautiful, and they bring out the best in each other, not just in terms of the characters, but in terms of their performances. So I recommend San Junipero. Absolutely.
I'll have to check that out for sure. We got a comment. I love Bridget, Lundy, Payne, and Atypical. Great show, Jesse. Great pull, because I should have put her on my list too. It shows what a teen trying to deal with coming out as bi deals with. If only it was so acceptable in my teen years. And that is unfortunate, first, that it wasn't acceptable when we were younger. But two, oh my God, this show is perfect on so many levels. One, it deals with autism on a level that's not making fun of the autism. Like, it's a character that has autism. And then on top of that, they're dealing with the sister who's coming out as bisexual, and they do it in such a great way. If you guys haven't seen Atypical, it's one of Netflix's highlights as far as original programming goes. Good pull, Jesse. What's your number two, Hallea?
I feel like I'm like, there could be better ones here. But just now that I'm like thinking, I feel like I said, I don't watch a lot of stuff in general, but I've heard really good things about Portrait of a Lady on Fire and The Miseducation of Cameron Post. I haven't finished Carol, I'll be honest. I think I fell asleep. There's just like a lot of things that I need to watch that I feel like I'm like not. I was like racking my brain. I was talking to my friends about it yesterday. Just being like, what do I put for this? Because I haven't watched a lot of movies. Well, I care a lot. That's great. Sex Education, Eric Chudigatwa, he is incredible. He's so funny. He's such a strong actor. And wait, I need to check. Is he? I think he's gay in real life too, or else he's just a very good actor. Let me see. I'm doing my research right now.
It's okay. We usually have Max as notebook and pen guy, where if we're doing lists, he's actively, I think, writing down his lists as we're doing them. So
apparently he's never publicly disclosed his sexuality, which great. I don't think that even like you just don't have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty open about it because I'm single. So
well, you came to the right place to be like, hey, all you nerds out there.
All the nerds. I'm not a nerd myself, though, so I'm always surprised that you guys, like, bring me back out because I'm, like, honored. I'm, like, I feel like I'm an honorary nerd, even though, like, I'm not a nerd.
I think our philosophy is we can be nerds about anything. Like, music.
That's a good point.
Like, we got some music nerds on here.
I could be a nerd about music. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you're into with us. It's we bring you back when you gel well with us, and like you, Jesse, and we have a few others that just gel really well when they're on.
I have mentioned before, though, like whenever you do leave, the podcast, at least when I've been on the show, it immediately, we go from like being really energetic and exuberant to then it's just a bunch of us old guys like talking about old guy stuff. And I'm like, man, can we get Hallea back? Like,
I love that. Because like I'm the kind of person where I either have like a lot of energy or I just don't have much at all. And I have such a resting bitch face. Like I just like my resting bitch face looks so angry and so tired. And so that brings me a lot of joy to hear that, because I'm always worried that I'm going to like bring other people's moods or energy down. But that's like usually later on in the day. Or
I'm in my 30s, Mike. I'm not that old.
You
Granted, it's only for another 6 months, but I'm still in my 30s.
You run a podcast talking about Matlock. Like
I do.
that's some old man stuff like there. And I think one time we were
Love
talking
that.
about what belts fit best on our pants. I'm like, we're old men and we're talking
Hey,
about this.
I had to get a belt the other day because none of my belts fit me. Like whenever I go get a belt, even the small one, it just like it doesn't fit. So I got one that has holes along the entire belt, and I'm like, nice, okay.
That
We can talk belts with you guys too. We can all be old together.
There we go. No, you're youthful. You
Bring the youthful elixir.
Yeah, no, it's like my back's starting to hurt.
Yeah. Mine already was. That's why I'm sitting on the floor.
My number one is forget the showrunner. This show is just fantastic, and it was really my first experience with a gay character on TV, and that is Willow, played by Allison Hannigan in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's right.
And Tara, of course. You can't really mention Willow without Tara, but very well done story, and it's a shame, like all the behind the scenes drama with the showrunner. But if you guys out there haven't watched Buffy, I highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that it was like a gradual kind of arc that developed for Willow as the show went on. Yeah, nice.
I remember it kind of being controversial at the time.
I guess just because it was the late 90s, early 2000s, and people were still trying to figure out like representation. How does that work?
That's about the time Ellen came out on her show. Like everybody was freaking out. I'm like, what's the big deal? Like, I don't understand. The show's still funny. She's still the same person she was 10 seconds ago, but apparently society.
Jesse says, "Hell yes, Willow and Tara were the reason I realized I was bi."
Wait. Jesse Camacho?
Very
I was
different.
about to say, are you telling me that I'm just learning that one of my best friends is bi?
No, very different Jesse.
Okay, I was just about to say, I was like, I need to call this man and say what's up. Like,
let's talk.
Yeah. Did you give yours, Mike?
Oh no. Sorry, I was just realizing my number one. David Rose, played by Dan Levy from Schitt's Creek. Oh, did I steal one? But yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. Oh, let's. So that was your number one as well?
That was one of my number one. I chose to go a different route of something that wasn't as well known, but or I guess kind of well known, but good choice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, do I love that dynamic between Noah Reid and Dan Levy. Like that show just in general.
It's such it's a beautiful show.
It's so good. I cried so hard. And I don't cry at shows a lot. Unless they really got to do some good work. I think it was because I just like binged watched it so quick and it was such an amazing show. Like the comedy, the writing, the cast dynamic, like it was all just perfectly cast.
Yeah. That's another one too where I feel like they're very much in control of like when they wrap up the show. Like they could have gone more seasons, but at that point it's like the characters, they've been through their arcs. Like David is completely different from where he started in the beginning, and it's like, you know what, this is a perfect ending for this character. And it's just like, and Dan Levy is just an awesome talent.
So good, yeah.
So
my top is I just binge watched Heartstopper the other day, and the character that plays Elle, Yasmin Finney, I love how we see her navigating the new school and being very insular at first And then she kind of gets like this nudge from the teacher to just kind of like go and make friends or whatever. And she just makes friends with the 2 lesbians in the school. And then it's just like they just happen to be like just the coolest girls in the school and just welcome her in and just make her feel at home. And yeah, that's the last show I had watched that had a LGBTQI plus character in it that I really, really loved. And also just Yasmin Finney is gorgeous. So yeah.
Definitely, like, we have those performances and those characters that we have our awakening to of like, okay, yeah, I see it. It's like
it was Shigo for me from Kim Possible. An animated character. I was like, damn, wow. Or it's watching Pirates of the Caribbean and not being sure if you're more attracted to Miss Swan or Orlando Bloom.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You
Neither
know?
of the Turners. Yeah.
Do you like Keira Knightley more or Orlando Bloom more? And then there's Johnny Depp. He's incredible actor. But yeah, that's my number one.
Nice. All right.
Nice.
I gotta say, we went through many different kind of like talking points on just this list. It was like
hugely.
Yeah.
I love that. I love always jumping around. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
I think the next door neighbor is starting to mow the lawn, so this might be a really good time to go before it gets a little bit loud.
I gotta say, I was thinking during our discussion with the top 5, I was like, we just need to fire the rest of the geeks and just hire you to be our third geek and just be you and
There's
Mike.
3 of us. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I could bring a lot of like just naivety to and humor, because I won't know most of the things you're talking about, so I could ask the dumb questions and then you could expand on them, and then I'll learn something.
It might wear thin on you having us always be like, okay, so the thing about this is, and the lore about this is.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. Yeah.
Well, yeah, tell us what you thought about Spider-Man and the new movie.
And all of the other Spider-Man.
Great. The CGI was impeccable.
What is your favorite silent film?
My favorite silent film? I can't even make a funny joke about that. I don't know.
Any movie on mute.
That was honestly past my mind. I was like, anytime I watch my phone on mute. Yeah. Who's your favorite Spider-Man?
Mine?
Yeah.
It's probably the new one. What's
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, just because he's got the much larger quality of work. Like, I love Spider-Man 2 and I love Amazing Spider-Man 1, but I like pretty much all of Tom Holland's stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, he doesn't look like he's in his 40s playing Spider-Man.
True. Did they only do one movie? How many movies did they do for Andrew and Toby?
Toby's 3.
Toby was 3. Andrew was 2. Yeah.
Andrew was supposed to have 3, but then they let him go and then brought on Tom Holland, because initially Sony had teamed up with Marvel to do Amazing Spider-Man 3, and Marvel said, if we're going to do it with you, we're going to reboot it because your universe doesn't fit with our universe.
Their nice way of saying, you messed this up. Let's do it.
Wow. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Cool.
But again, Hallea, thank you all the time for whenever you join and pop on the show. It's always great. Everybody out there, you guys can follow Hallea at Hallea Jones on social media. And I love the stuff you're doing on social media, especially now. It's very positive and ensuring, and men suck. I totally get it. I'm one, but I have friends with men, so I know 100% of what you're saying. Like, I always tell everybody, I understand why some women don't want to date men, because we suck.
Yeah, just in general. Even if I wasn't interested in a woman, I think at this point in my life, I'd be just taking a very long break from them. Just not the time right now. It's just not the time. Sometimes you got to just give yourself some space. Yeah. And then you get back into the dating scene, and it's like, oh, this is why I gave myself space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to catch up with you guys, and I'll see you again soon.
Absolutely.
See ya.
All right. See ya.
All the best.
Everybody else out there, you guys can have a great day. Remember, check out Hallea on all the social medias. # Camacho for Scream 6. Also, check out Mike at youtube.com/Mike McGTV. I gotta say, Mike, this is one of the best shows we've done in a long time.
Yeah, and now I feel old because Halea's gone. So
let's talk about Metamucil.
No, it's always fun to just kind of these are always I always love the top 5 episodes too in general. Like it's just fun to hear everyone's choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody out there, I wish you guys a great weekend or rest of the weekend and safe week next week and enjoy each other. We'll talk to you guys soon.